This is Brendan Mundorf with Team STX. We're going to be stringing up the surgeon head, starting with the top string. Before we start stringing our stick, we want to get the mesh stretched out. This will make it a little easier to string. Once the mesh is nice and stretched out, your first step is going to be to fold the mesh over, okay? Notice that there's a rough side to the mesh and a smooth side. You want the ball sitting in the rough side, so that's going to be inside your pocket. Now I like to use 9 holes, so I'm going to fold this over so 2 holes are matching up. It's important that you get this straight across because you don't want to be stringing your top string through 2 different sets of holes. We have 9 holes here. If you count across this top row, there should be 9 holes. Okay, make sure it's pinched nice and evenly, and you're ready to get started. So now that I've got my mesh all set and ready to go, and my top string has a knot at one end, I'm going to take the end of the top string that doesn't have a knot, run it from outside in on the sidewall of the stick, and then through bottom up through the mesh, and run it all the way up to the knot. Now I'm going to loop it back through the outside of the sidewall and back up through that same hole of mesh. What this is going to do is pull the mesh tight to the sidewall so it'll stay there as we go across the top of the head. Now I'm going to take the tip of my string through the first hole in the top of the head, through the back of the head, around to the front of the mesh, and through the next hole in line. I'll loop that through, pulling it tight, and then across. Okay, make sure the mesh is right in the middle there. You want it to be even all the way across. So now that I've done this once and it's tight, okay, I'll take the string again, go back through that same hole, through the front of the head, okay, pulling it up, and now I've created this loop. I keep my hand here just so you can see that I'm now going to put the string back through that loop. Pull it down first to tighten it up, and then across to lock it in. From here I'm going to move on to the next, actually 2 holes over, through the back of the head, through the mesh. See how this string comes over the original string that went through the back of the head. I'm going to pull down first and then over to lock it in. I'm going to get the string again, go back through that hole in the mesh, through the front of the head, and through this loop. Down, pulling down on the string and over to lock it in. I'm going to skip another hole in the mesh, go in through the back, come around, down and over, through the mesh again, come through the head, and down through the loop, down and over, skip another hole in the mesh, through the back of the head, front of the mesh. The whole time you want to pull the mesh over so it doesn't get any sort of wrinkles in it. You want it nice and tight all the way across the top of the head. Now you're at the other side of the head now. What you're going to do is take your string, come through the back of the mesh, and then through the sidewall hole. Second one down, just like on the other side. String goes through. You pull it tight. Now you're going to loop it back over the top of this plastic on the sidewall through your same hole of mesh. And you've got to get this sidewall string back through the same hole in the sidewall. Now you hold that mesh up and just pull really tight. That's what it looks like there, nice and even. You want to make sure this center hole in the mesh lines up with the center of the head. And that all these pieces of string are tight and the mesh isn't sagging down from the top of the head. And you want to finish it off with a nice simple knot again on this end. Pulling your fingers there to keep it tight. Pulling it off. That's what it should look like from the back. Everything should be tight. You give it a little test by pulling on it. It's nice and tight. And from the front, it looks like that.